Hello, my name is Rob Garner. I am a computer programming instructor, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to use Visual Studio Online. To start, we're going to need a project to work with, so I'm just going to make a simple Hello World application. It'll be a C# console application. And once we have our project built, the next thing we want to do is check it into source control. Before we can do that, though, we need to connect to a Visual Studio Online server. We can do that by clicking on Team Explorer and clicking on the Connected Team Projects. Alternatively, you can go to Team menu and click on the Connected Team Foundation server. And then click Select Team Projects. If this is the first time that you've connected to Visual Studio, you won't have any servers displayed in this dropdown, and you won't have any project collections listed. So we will click on Servers, and we need to add a server. In our case, we're going to add cnm.visualstudio.com and click OK. When you do that, it's going to ask you to sign in using your Microsoft account. If you don't have a Microsoft account, you can click on Sign Up Now, and that will provide you the ability to create a Microsoft account. Use your student email address to do that, because that's what I will have used to assign you already to the project. Once you have your account and you log in, you'll notice that on our Team Foundation server dialog, we now have a reference here to our Visual Studio Online server. Once you see that, you can close that window, and it will list out all the projects you have. In my case, there's a list of all the students that we have access to. You will only see your projects. I'm going to connect to this demo project. And so you select the project you want to be working with, and then click Connect. What we want to do is check in this existing project. So I'm going to right-click on Solution and add Solution to Source Control. It's going to give you a choice to use Team Foundation version control or Git. In our case, we're using Team Foundation version control. I'm going to add this to this demo project collection. It'll be this solution will be called Hello World. You can make new folders and subdivide your folders and organize them if you want, but in my case, I'm just going to put them underneath this. I'm going to accept the defaults, basically. Now, at this stage, the solution that we created is now associated with version control, but it is not uploaded to the server yet. In fact, if you look at the Solution Explorer, you'll notice that we have a number of pluses, these green pluses next to all the files we have. This is an indication that these folders have been associated and have been staged to be uploaded to version control, but they haven't been uploaded yet. We need to do one more thing. We need to right-click on our solution and click Check-in. The check-in is actually what will upload files. And I highly recommend that you use meaningful and descriptive comments, because later on we can go back and look at the history of our check-ins. And if you ever need to go back and open up a specific version of your program at a particular point in time, then the version comments are how you can figure out which version it is. So in this case, I'm just going to call it initial check-in. Later on, you may have comments that say things like added menu, or added a function to do a particular function, or if you do some debugging and you need to do some fixes, you might describe the fixes you made. Just make your comments descriptive. You'll also notice in this window we have included changes, and there's a list of all the files that we updated. Since this is the initial check-in, it's every file in the solution. Later on, it'll only be the files that you actually modified. We could actually choose to exclude certain changes, and they would then move down to this excluded changes list. In our case, we want everything up there, so we're not going to do that. And once we're satisfied, we're going to click check-in. At this stage, all these files are now being uploaded to Visual Studio Online. They're on that cloud server maintained by Microsoft. And you'll notice that we get a message that says change set 7926 successfully checked in. It's very important that you see that message. If it isn't, there may have been a problem with the check-in that you may need to resolve, and those can be potentially conflicts with things that are on the server or unresolved differences. You'll get a message that describes what needs to be done in that instance. If I return to my Solution Explorer, you'll notice that those green pluses have now gone. There are now these blue lock-looking icons, and basically you notice that each one of these says checked in. So that's another way you can verify that your file was actually checked in. It's very important to notice that I've been doing everything from the top solution folder. So when I want to check things in, I check in from that. I don't want to check in from the project level. Especially when you're turning things into me, I need your whole solution file. So on your initial check-in especially, you need to make that initial check-in from the solution file. And I recommend you just check in from the solution file each time. If I were to make some changes here, and save it, you'll notice that I get a red check mark. That means that this file has been changed, and that means that this red check mark means that this file has been checked out and has not been updated yet. Once again, go to the team. Change is there. You can just put in a comment. Put something meaningful, click check in. See the successful message, go back to the Solution Explorer, notice that red check mark is gone and the blue icon says checked in. You don't necessarily need to check in after every single line that you change, but you kind of want to be in the mode of when you're working on something, have a particular task that you're doing, complete that task, and then do a check-in. If you get into that rhythm, it will actually help you organize your work a little better. You'll tend to be very focused on what you're doing one piece at a time. So for example, displaying the initial welcome message would be a good point where you might do a check-in. Creating a loop to get user input might be another one. As you add individual functions and incorporate them into the application, those might be other logical points to do check-ins. Once your work is complete, I highly recommend you always do a final check-in at the end, just to make sure everything's loaded before you finish coding for the day. You can look at where your files ended up by going to the Team Explorer and looking at the Source Control Explorer. And you'll see here that there's the demo project, there's Hello World that we just worked on, and if I click on Hello World, we'll see that it's been mapped to the location where this project was originally created. I highly recommend actually creating a drive under a directory under your C drive, just call it VSO, and put all of your source control projects under there. It kind of keeps them all in one place and also shortens the path names for your projects. One of the issues that you can run into is when you get to have very elaborate projects, as the names increase in length, you can only have about 255 characters in the number of characters in the path for that file. So if it gets too long, you can actually the operating system can cause trouble for you. So putting your directories as high up in the directory structure as possible kind of avoids that problem. Another thing I recommend is you don't necessarily want to link to files on removable devices like a USB drive, because they may be mapped to different drive letters, and you can get these local paths out of sync if that happens. If you want to use a USB stick, I recommend just using it to back up copies of those files in case something happens. Thank you very much.